What's up, dudes? Max here, back with an update to something I know a lot of you have been waiting for because I've been getting a ton of requests on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, and it's discussing the recent announcement of Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. Again, my apologies, this video did not go up any earlier. We got back from a trip recently and my wife got incredibly sick and I've kind of been nursing her back to health. She's doing pretty good now and I could kind of compose my thoughts and do a quick video talking about Street Fighter V Arcade Edition and what it kind of means to me and my initial impressions. To begin things, and if you dudes aren't familiar, we've played a lot of Street Fighter V on this channel, from the beta versions of the game to the final release to several patches, but there hasn't been a lot over the past year. Street Fighter V and its inherent gameplay have never really intrigued me a ton. The time I had the most fun with it was when the first couple of betas were taking place back in the summer of 2015, but even my initial impressions of the game when I first played it at E3 of the same year, I wasn't too impressed and I was always kind of expecting there to be a couple more V-triggers, some more supers, some more V-skills, and things of that nature. Although I did want an opportunity to kind of understand the game and get a little bit better at it, and in the summer of 2016, after the game had been out for a few months, we were able to achieve a platinum rank in ranked matches in about 4 to 5 days of playing online within 1 week's period of time, and I was kind of happy with that, but for the most part, I felt I was kind of done with playing a lot of Street Fighter V online. Even though Ken is one of my favorite Street Fighter characters of all time and usually my go-to in all the Street Fighter games, I really wasn't super impressed with the way he looks and kind of the way he plays in Street Fighter V. And until a character like Akuma showed up back in December of 2016, I had a little bit of re-inspired interest to play the game, but not a ton because I was kind of reminded of Street Fighter V's kind of basic and bare-bone mechanics. There's not a lot you can do with the characters, it's more the application of what you can do with the characters, and that's not specifically a bad thing, but I've never been a huge fan of extremely ground, spacing, and footsies-focused fighting games. So here we are, getting close to the end of 2017, I've barely played any Street Fighter V over the past year, and Street Fighter V Arcade Edition has been announced, which is the first really big update the game is actually getting. You can sort of compare this to Street Fighter 4's movement to Super Street Fighter 4, and that game had a pretty dramatic improvement on the game because it added supers and characters and things like that. But what exactly is included in Street Fighter V? And it's a couple of things I've kind of been asking for a very long time. The biggest one comes down to gameplay, and the biggest gameplay addition that is initially being touted for SF5 is the fact that characters are going to get new V-triggers. It's kind of been leaked and rumored and talked about for a long time, and we've all kind of expected it to be this way, but new V-triggers are a thing that's going to be happening, and the way they're going to modify and manipulate the characters, we don't know exactly, but we do have a couple of screenshots that we can theorize where characters like Mika bring out Nadeshiko to do unique moves and stuff like that. I would be a lot happier if they did confirm brand new supers for the characters, if not brand new V-skills as well, because V-skills really are where the game kind of lacks in my opinion, and essentially a lot of V-skills in Street Fighter V just boiled down to taking a special move the character had and making it a V-skill mechanic, which always felt kind of lazy. The thing I've always wanted from Street Fighter V is for mechanics to be presented that give the players more of an identity when playing characters. It can be fairly hard to watch someone playing Street Fighter V or play a specific character and to identify which player is playing that character if you did not know, simply because executing specific combos and things of that nature are not specifically hard, and a lot of the most interesting aspects in Street Fighter V come down to the crazy elements, things like Urien and his V-trigger. I think that's absolutely awesome, the different kind of setups that people work into his game plan, and is probably some of the most unique and fun stuff to watch in SF5, but not every character has that by any means necessary. So over time I just kind of lost interest with the game because, one, there wasn't characters that I really wanted to play as, and two, when I did get a chance to play as those characters, I wasn't super thrilled about just getting better at playing grounded footsies. So I do hope the focus of moving forward with Street Fighter V is definitely highlighting the fact that we can give players more of a personality when playing a character, that it can be a bit more effective to combo or just do something, just give us something that requires an executional barrier with these characters that not everyone can do right off the bat. The other aspects, which are arcade mode being added and a new battle mode, are kind of the same thing. We're talking about single-player offline content, and this is essentially what everyone has been asking of Street Fighter V for years now. These are the things that if they were added to Street Fighter V at launch, the game and Capcom as a fighting game development company would be held into a much different standard than it had been over the past couple years, because this was the beginning of kind of Capcom going into a very negative state in terms of their fighting game development, because Street Fighter V was lacking in arcade mode. They're adding an arcade mode, and they're really adding a ton of shit to it, touting over like 100 endings, character archetype stories that pass through every single Street Fighter timeline from 1, 2, 3 to the alphas and stuff like that. It sounds really freaking awesome. And in terms of the content that is on the board right now, might be one of the things I'm looking the most forward to, just because I want to see how that stuff plays out. I want to see how we play through a Street Fighter 3 timeline or a Street Fighter 1 timeline or things of that nature, just because it sounds interesting the way they're setting it up. And based on the way Capcom has set up their story modes, from Street Fighter V story mode last year to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite story mode right now, I am much more interested in arcade modes from Capcom than their story modes. I think they should leave story modes to other fighting game developers like NetherRealm. They're really good at cinematic story modes, and I would almost prefer Capcom to stick to really dynamic and interesting arcade modes with bosses and sub-bosses and secret fights. That's the stuff I love about Capcom games, especially playing them not against a person, playing them offline, is really engaging arcade modes, and it looks like they're doing that here, so I only hope it's as awesome as it sounds when it comes out. The extra battle mode, I'm only assuming, is going to be a sort of barrel break special mode of some kind, where you, like, crush the car, break the barrels, which is always a nice addition. It's a legacy thing to Street Fighter. I have never really played it more than the single time you would pass by it in an arcade mode playthrough, so it's cute, but it really doesn't add a lot for me personally. Some casual audience will definitely find allure in stuff like that, especially considering the way Street Fighter V is being repackaged. I've been saying this for quite a long time, and I was getting a lot of flack for it when I was saying it about a year ago, that Street Fighter V needs to repackage itself, kind of reintroduce itself in some way to the audience, because they needed to add all the stuff that was missing and repackage it somehow, which is exactly what they're doing now. But even back in the day, a lot of people weren't on board with that, thinking they would have to pay extra money. The nice thing is that you do not have to pay extra anything for this update. If you own Street Fighter V, you can absolutely get all of this stuff completely free. The characters are going to cost extra if you didn't happen to buy the original characters, but the palatable part of Street Fighter V Arcade Edition is the fact that all the characters that are available in the game right now are being put into that $40 little box with a bow on top. That's good, but it also means the fact that the players that originally got the characters or bought Street Fighter V like back in the day, you still have all your characters and you can earn them via in-game fight money. But if you want to get everything and you want to get it right now, you would essentially have to buy Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, but that does not include any of the future characters at all. It just makes sense. It makes sense that they would put everything together for new people. The idea of this game is to bring people back that missed out on the opportunities that Street Fighter V was presenting itself with the first season of characters and the second season. If you didn't end up buying those season passes back in the day, which were like, I think $25 or something like that for each one, then you have this opportunity to get all of it for 40 bucks, and that makes sense. I only wish this would happen to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite in the future. But to sum everything up on my end, I think this is a great idea. It's nice to see that Capcom didn't give up on Street Fighter V. I'm not a huge fan of this game, and I've always felt it can be fixed. There are ways that you can tackle this game to fix it, to make it better, to make the online infrastructure run better, to make the game more engaging and entertaining in regards to gameplay mechanics that can give you more of an identity. We don't know if all that stuff is happening absolutely as of yet. They're talking about it, but it is nice to see that they are developing the game and supporting it in ways that can actually make it better in the long run. Once again, I compare it to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite because Marvel is kind of my Capcom game, and I just want to see the same kind of treatment given to that one in the future as well, so let's just hope so. But Street Fighter V, I'm absolutely going to play it. When it comes out, I'm looking forward to the characters. There's still one more character that has yet to be announced for the Season 2 DLC. I'm not super interested in who it might be, considering the things we've heard. He could be really awesome. I'm more interested to see the new package that Street Fighter V is coming with, the new UI, the new presentation, all this stuff. It is refreshing to see new things. It's shocking how a small adjustment, like a tiny tweak to graphics, a tiny change to the way the user interface works, a change to the way you process yourself through menus and everything like that, can very much make you feel like you're playing a brand new game. And this isn't anything new. We did the exact same thing with the Street Fighter games back in the day with Street Fighter 2 and the alphas. It is something that is thoroughly effective and makes us feel like we are enjoying a brand new experience, which is good, because the later versions of Street Fighter 4 are the ones that I enjoyed the most, and I'm only hoping that this is the first step in Street Fighter 5 to make me kind of like the game a bit more, want to play it online, and bring a whole bunch more people back where they can fill out the ranks and give people a whole bunch of matchmaking options, which is always a good thing and allows a lot more people to consistently play online, much more than they would normally. I don't think Street Fighter V is a bad game by any means, it just didn't really feel like a fighting game that I wanted to play, and I always really enjoyed the Street Fighter Vs that deviate from the normal Street Fighter formula, like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and the Alphas and things like that. But I'm looking forward to it, I'm gonna play it. The thing I'm looking forward to the most in Street Fighter V, more than mechanics and everything like that, is characters. Roster is really damn important to me, and if certain characters are added to this game that I have very much personal attachment to, like Q from the Street Fighter 3 series, if not any other characters like Sean from the Street Fighter 3 series as well, I really want to see what they can do with them in this engine and this game, and I think they could look absolutely awesome. The thing that'll make me play Street Fighter V the most is absolutely characters, and that same principle applies to almost any fighting game, especially Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite as well. How do you guys feel about Street Fighter V Arcade Edition? Is this something you're going to be checking out? I'm assuming a lot of you guys still play Street Fighter V because the very few videos I've put up over the past year seem to get pretty decent viewership, and a lot of people respond kind of positively to them, which I'm shocked by because I haven't played it in so long. SF5 is absolutely the de facto Capcom fighting game that people sort of play nowadays, and is still the front runner for the fighting game community, even though it didn't have the sales expectations they were expecting, but I hope that this does something for them. I don't want to see fighting games fail, I want to see fighting game developers learn from their mistakes. Marvel Infinite wasn't lucky enough to fall into that category, unfortunately, but I only hope in the future with versions of these games that Capcom can learn from both of these titles and just make them better experiences overall, and Street Fighter V Arcade Edition does absolutely seem to be taking a step in the right direction. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more updates as soon as possible and getting some more consistent videos on this channel every day than the past week or so, and I very much appreciate you guys being patient. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.